I am doing my dishes. Cleaning house today. Clean house, take trash out, do dishes, all those things that we really don't want to do. Just reading the notification on my phone. Got President Trump, something doing about something. Yeah. War is an ugly thing. I've shared before how I really dislike doing dishes. I dislike doing dishes so much. It's a thing for me, it really is. As a child, I shared in a video on one of my social medias, I don't know where it is now. I'm sure one of you will be able to find it. But it was about me and doing dishes as a child. I was the youngest, and I was the only daughter. And I lived in a home where the man was the ruler. And the boys did boy stuff, and the girls did girl stuff. And dishes was apparently a girl stuff. And so I didn't like that. I didn't like that not one bit. I had lots of things to say about that. And you can go watch that video. But as a child, I got angry one time with the dishes because they had it was disgusting, really. That's really what it was. And I threw the dishes, like I put the dishes away haphazardly and was angry, slamming stuff around, just angry. And what had happened was later in the evening, because I was putting things away and slamming dishes and, not putting things right, that the plates fell out of the cabinet and broke into gazillion pieces. They slid right out of the cabinet onto the kitchen floor and crash. And there were those Corelle dishes. Those ones with the little flowers around the edge or white and get a few different designs. Well, anyway, you can buy them at Kmart. They're real cheap. But they broke into like slivers of all kinds of glass, and it was scary. And if you don't know much about me, if you haven't watched any of my social media, you don't know this, but I walked around barefoot all the time. I was barefoot all the time as a child, outside, at the store, riding my bicycle. I was barefoot all the time. And so when I went to go clean up that stuff, I was barefoot. Remind you, I was a child, okay? I was a small child. And you would think that your mother would pull you aside or help you or say, go get some shoes on or something. But no, that didn't happen. And I got lots of glass in my feet. lots of glass. And that was, according to my father, my punishment for doing what I did. Because I was angry. And I broke all those dishes. And it was my karma that I had that fate. So, yeah, I could say I'm a little scarred. Doing dishes. Don't like doing dishes. Just don't. And I moved in this place last year, and I don't have no dishwasher. We never had dishwasher growing up. My mother didn't get a dishwashing machine until after I went to college, or went off to college at Southeast Missouri State University. And she still never did use it. She let that thing sit there and rot. Because if you don't use it, hoses and cords and everything rots. It just, if you don't use it. So anyway, but interesting enough, here I am as an adult doing my fucking dishes. Because ain't nobody else gonna do them. And it certainly is not just one gender's job. But that's what we were told as kids. That's a woman's job. No, women have to do that. I've shared in a video before about how I didn't know this then, but now I know that I was autistic. And I made little schedules, cute little schedules, about who's going to say grace that night at dinner and whose turn it was to do the dishes. It got me out of having to do all of them dishes myself until we all started to get older and have jobs of our own. And then it was back to mom always doing it. Dad never. I never, ever saw my father do dishes. Never. Not once. Ever. Not even as an old man. Never. He probably hated doing dishes just as much as I do. That's why he said, that's a woman's job. And because he was man of the house, that's how it went. That's how it go. So, but yeah, doing my dishes. Then I'll be, look at Bailey sitting there. Oh. Then I'll be mopping the floors and go do my laundry. We have this complex I live in is new, and they're putting up solar panels for carports. So we're going to each have carports, and the carports on top of them will have the solar panels. So I'm excited about that. Maybe by this winter, this coming, November, December, maybe we'll have them up by then, and I won't be having to shovel, clean all that snow up off my car. Or I may not even be here. Who knows? I do have plans, but I know how God treats my plans. He always throws a wrench in things every now and then to keep me humble. So, because I had big plans, and those big plans have been put on hold. However, my publisher got me a billboard for my book in Times Square. So during, I I don't know if it's going to be the week of or the week before Mother's Day. I'll be going to New York City with my friend and getting my picture right underneath the billboard in Times Square with a picture of me and my book. I'm excited because that's big for me, man. I'm just a little old Midwestern girl who went to parochial school, didn't really stir much around town, you know, kept to herself. Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm a big grown ass beautiful woman now. Not putting up with nobody's shit. And it served me quite well this past couple of years. Finding myself in my journey. Finding out some things that were done unto me that were quite questionable. Learning that I was autistic was very confusing to me. And lost my identity. And I've done that many times through the years. Because I had put on so many masks in my life that I really didn't know who I was. And because of some of the, the medication that I was on, those SSRIs really fucked with my head. Sorry for the language, but that's the goddamn truth. And you're like, don't use God's name in vain. Fuck you. Fuck you. If you've been through the things that I've been through and seen the things that I've seen, then you might be able to say something. But until then, go fuck yourself. With all due respect. A lot of things are coming to fruition, and many of you have gone through similar things in your life, where you're now realizing that the things that you've been told and the people who you've trusted in your life really manipulated you and really used you. And that was the hardest part of my journey, thinking that I was around people who I loved, and I thought they loved me. And they may define love in a different way. And the hardest part of my growing through my journey is that they may have loved me, but they didn't love me the way I needed to be loved. And they didn't love me the way that I loved them. They couldn't. They didn't know how. And forgiveness, that was a whole other story. Knowing that I was going through all this, and I had, gone through some major issues and manipulations in my life. But the whole forgiveness part took longer. I first had to tell people. I first had to let them know that I know what you did to me. I know what happened in my life. I know all this stuff. I had to tell people. And in that journey of me explaining and letting people know that I know, I know now, I know what you did. Going through that was empowering to me. Because I realized these people didn't know how to love me the way that I loved. They didn't deserve me. And so I had to learn how to forgive. I had to learn and look deep down in my soul. And I cried. I cried. I sure did, man. I was angry. But you go through those steps. It's just like any grieving process. You go through those steps. I had to let people know. And those that cared enough would stick around. And those that understood or you know, they were wise enough in their ego to realize, oh shit, Denise knows and I should apologize. Would apologize. I would change. Or would show different, parts of themselves through a process. But none of that happened. The people who I invested in couldn't invest in me back. And so I had to move on. I had to leave. They had to go through their own growing process. They had to learn their own dark shadows. They had to earn their warrior badges. It was hard. It's still hard. I miss my family. I love my daughter. I love my son. And I'm extremely connected to my grandchildren. But I knew that those stories that they were saying about me, they didn't understand what they were saying. They were just scared themselves. And fear really controls you if you let it. And so that's part of learning your dark shadows. What you let control your life. And if you let fear control you, then you can't love. You can love me, that's for sure. I've looked at death in the face more than once. I've been through so much. And eventually, I pray every day, eventually, those I love will grow out of their ego. And they'll start focusing on themselves instead of pointing their finger at everybody else. You're what's wrong with me. You did this to me. You made me this way. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't. And how the world tries to control you by fear. And if you're controlled by fear, you're still stuck in your ego. And you're not worth it for anybody. Not even yourself. So if you're still listening to the warmongering idiots, and if you're still worried about this and that and everything else, then you've got no place in this world. It's called the New World Order. You're gonna have to get used to it. You're gonna have to stand up for yourself, and you're gonna have to do some hard learning. Hard dealing with people who are never gonna grow up. something to be said about all of those slaves. All of those family members who struggle through life because of what other people do, and they can still put a smile on their face. Now that's love.